So,
So ladies, let me know when you're ready and I will, oh, it's already recording. Never mind. I'm going to mute
It's
myself.
9 o'clock. It's 9 a.m.
it's 9 a.m. Let's start. So
Yeah.
Pam, I'll let you start and then I'll
We will officially kick the party off with the first Power 30 of 2021. So happy New Year, everybody! Really glad to see you on. If you just joined us, you're not looking at Shelly Johnson. You are looking at our very own Tamara, who has gracefully stepped up and stepped in Shelly's place as a last minute replacement, and we are blessed. Honestly, no better way to start. And I love that it's coming within our community too. I love that we get to learn from each other and grow. And honestly, no one better to fill that seat than you, Tamara. So we really kind of wanted to just talk this morning about really kicking off 2021. 2020 was wrought with, lessons and challenges and blessings and obstacles and, conquerors and everything and all of the above, right? So we wanted to find out, like, what are some takeaways that you could possibly share with us and, your 2020 lessons and how we move forward from here.
Absolutely. Well, I had the good fortune of yesterday having an insight before, being asked to speak on this. That for me, I had my 2020 and 2018. So I was really fortunate coming into this experience that I had already gone through something very similar in my own personal life, and so 2020 has actually been an extraordinary year for me. And I've had so many positive things happen in 2020. And so to reflect back to 2018, when I actually went through my, dark night of the soul, so to speak, and had to deal with a trauma, it was devastating. Sent my world sideways and completely helped me reorganize my life and get my priorities in order, reorganize my business. And that's when I attracted in EXP and Synergy Community specifically to fulfill some of those gaps that I had in my own life and business. And so I'm going to share my lessons and insights from that experience to help folks with their 2020 experience. And so when we have trauma happen in our lives, we just really go into a pattern that we've had our entire lives since childhood, unless we have really worked to upgrade our patterns and our thought systems. So how we live, and I definitely want to give tools for everybody to take away with them on the call, because this is just a quick 30 minutes. I mean, truly, I could do like a 5-hour workshop on this whole thing and get people armed with all sorts of tools and resources. And I still want to do that in the condensed time that we have. And so it's all about power, being in our power. So we're either in our power or we're giving up our power to other things. And when we have a traumatic experience happen, we just go automatically into what our learned behaviors and habits are. And so for me, I was raised by a martyr, and I go into martyr mode. That is it. I put everything else aside. I focus on the problem at hand, and I will not even take care of myself. I focus on what the problem is and get that straightened out. And so my traumatic experience that I had, and some of you are aware that my bonus daughter and my husband, who I'm still very close to, and we have a good relationship, they were in a car accident where she was paralyzed, and she was in ICU for 6 weeks. And then we had her in a hospital. We had her air ambulance to a hospital for 5 months that specialized in spinal cord injuries. She still is a quadriplegic. And so I just went into immediate, let's take care of business mode, cleared my schedule. In clearing my schedule, of course, I cleared my income. I was right there in ICU with her. I was at the hospital with her, relocated to Denver to be there with her. And that gave me some time to pause in my life to actually see my patterns, that I do go into martyr mode, and then I put myself and everything that is important to me on the back burner. And of course, there are times that you need to do that. Of course, as a mom, even as a bonus mom, that's what you do, right? And I learned in that experience, and this is about being in your power. So being aware of something without it taking control of you. Okay. So being aware of something without giving up your power to it. And so, and of course, I learned my martyr pattern from my mom, and who was the first person to hop on a plane to come and help us out? My mom. And so it was a good opportunity for the two of us to connect around this trauma response we both have, that we both learned in our childhoods, and then put in some self-care. So self-care is super important. So every day we would take turns. She would have her turn as, taking care of herself and, filling up her energy. And then I had my turn to take care of myself. And then by the time that she was there for a month for us. And then by the time she went back home, I was in a good routine and we were comfortable with the nurses and everything. So I still continue to do my self-care. Self-care is super important. The first 15 minutes of the day, 5 to 15 minutes. So this is where a tool that you, if you haven't implemented in this experience of 2020, make sure you do it going forward, is at least the first 5 minutes, preferably 15 minutes if you can go for like an hour or so, is to feed yourself first thing in the morning. We live, there are 4 aspects of our life, and they all work they're intertwined and synergistic. And that is our mental faculty, our emotions, our physical body, and our energy. And when we can get all 4 of those headed in the same direction, we are in like a flow state. We are at our height. We are in our power. And so how do we do that? So the first 5 to 15 minutes of the day, activating each aspect of that, your thoughts, thinking positive, conscious thoughts, your emotions, actually feeling the energy, the energetic emotion of being alive, and healthy, productive emotions. So, negative emotions would be, anger, sadness, grief. Those are destructive emotions. And then positive emotions are courage. They start at a space of courage where you feel invincible, love, that ineffable feeling. Those are really good, creative emotions to have. When you're excited, in a good way, like a positive, enthusiastic, excited, right? And then our physical body, literally moving our body. Our bodies are meant to move. And when we're waking up from, 8 hours of sleep, which really we're only supposed to sleep about in a 3-hour, we have 3 sleep cycles in a 24-hour period. 2 of them should happen during the night. That's just kind of a natural order of things. And our bodies are meant to move like every couple of hours. So staying in bed in, one position is not healthy for us. We actually should be moving our body through the evening. And most of you probably notice around like 3 o'clock, depending on when you go to bed, it could be 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. But you'll wake up in the middle of the night and people think, oh my gosh, I have insomnia. And you're like, no, that's your natural sleep pattern. We sleep an hour and a half cycles. It usually takes us 3 hours to get to a cycle. And that 8-hour sleep routine is just a creation of our industrial revolution that doesn't serve our bodies. And then the middle of the afternoon, we usually get a little sleepy. That's when you should probably take a nap or meditate. And so make sure you're moving your body. Our bodies are meant to move. And if you don't have time to do a full workout in the morning, you could do a 4-hour Tabata set. I mean, a 4-minute Tabata set. And so hop on YouTube. YouTube is amazing. There you can learn everything and anything on YouTube, but just put in Tabata, T-A-B-A-T-A, and pick out 4 minutes. And if you're a beginner to working out, just choose a 4-minute beginner Tabata set. That'll get your body moving. And then meditation. And you can, meditate for as little as 3 minutes and get the benefit of just pausing for a moment and being alone within your body. We're literally experiencing our entire life internally, inside out. And one of the things that I do believe that allows people kind of get caught up and displace their power into other things is they go, oh, I'll be happy when, or I'll be happy if. I can't wait until this COVID thing is over. I'll be happy when this COVID thing is over, right? And the thing is like, no, you've got to find the happiness now, and no one else is responsible for our joy and for our happiness. Only we are. And when we put onto, whether it's a person or an experience or an accomplishment, when we put our happiness onto that, we have then taken our power and given it away. And so refocusing and saying, okay, I choose to be happy now in the moment. The moment is where all our power is. I choose to be happy now. What will it take? What will it take? There's so much power in the questions we ask and the conversations we have with ourselves. So asking the question, what will it take? And then listen for the answer. That's where our intuition comes in. We know the answer, and not looking outside of ourselves for the answer, but looking right within ourselves. Emotion. So going back to emotions, because there's so much power in emotions. So we have our mental body, our physical body, our emotional body, and then our energetic body. So I talked a little bit of energy when I was talking about the sleep cycles and so forth. And going back to our emotions, and our emotions have so much power to them. We can harness the power of our emotions when we're aware of them. And this is where the meditation comes in to when you have a meditation practice that you're doing over and over again. Yes, Jody is on. She's like, meditation makes a huge difference. And she's amazing. If you want to learn how to meditate, she does some guided meditations like I do, so Jody's on there, so reach out to her. Is what meditation helps us with is to build our awareness without being distracted by things. So in your meditative practice, whether you're doing a guided meditation or just breathing in and out and just being attentive to your breathing, it brings you into awareness. So you're aware of what's going on without being distracted by it. Over time, you might be distracted in the beginning, but then over time you get really good at it, and then you're aware of what's going on around you, but not being distracted by it. You get really focused and anchored into your power. So when it comes to our emotions and our thoughts, like literally having an existential experience of them, so that as the thoughts come up and as the emotions, you're aware of them. Oh, it's interesting that I'm thinking this thought. Am I committed to this thought? Just because we think a thought doesn't mean that it's true, or just because we have a belief doesn't mean that it's true. So a belief is just a thought we keep thinking over and over and over and over again. And those beliefs can be shifted. Most of us have beliefs from our childhood that don't serve us. We made a decision about something and then we continue to believe it, like, I'm not good enough, or I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, whatever it is, all of those kind of negative beliefs. That's just a thought that you kept thinking over and over and over again until it became a belief. So being aware of it, like, oh, that's funny that my mind would think that thought. Am I committed to that? Is that something that's important to me? No, I'm not. Like, I choose to believe that I'm awesome, and then let's roll with that. Then you got to repeat that until that becomes a belief, right? And the same thing with our emotions, being aware of, like, I'm feeling, maybe you're feeling grief going through 2020. I'm sure that because I definitely experienced this in 2018, where I felt like I lost my life, like my life was on the back burner, and my life was no longer about me or, what my desires. And then I kind of look back at everything. It's like, are these things even important to me? I don't know if they're important to me or not. Let me reevaluate this. But literally feeling like that grief and sadness, like I grieved the life that my daughter was having. She was having, she had, was no longer, like, her reality shifted, and it shifted for all of us, of course, around her, and literally feeling the grief without letting it totally sideline our lives. Like, life is going to be different. she's not going to be, skiing or dancing or doing the things that she was doing before. And life is different, and so grieving that loss, actually feeling it and then releasing it, because if we don't feel through those emotions and release them, then they get anchored into our body, and then they show up later, as disease or I think it's something that I've experienced a couple of times through life is having adrenal fatigue, because I do go into that martyr mode where I take care of everyone else but myself, and then afterwards comes the adrenal fatigue, because if you don't process the emotions and the trauma in the moment, then it will show up later on. There's some people that don't, that they just respond to trauma differently. Maybe they'll become completely like confused about like, well, what do I do? Indecisive and so forth. And we all process trauma differently or adversity differently. It doesn't mean one's right or wrong. And it's just that it shows up differently. And sometimes people process those emotions right there in the moment, and they're not delaying it like, I would have a habit of doing if I just went into my pattern and was not aware of what was going on. So being aware without being distracted. And then flipping things, being able to flip things. So thinking, instead of thinking with your brain and just being that constant, like in your head all the time, like, oh, I got to fix this, or taking action, or any of the society beliefs about how we're supposed to live our lives and do things. Scarcity is, kind of, there are a lot of shared thoughts around scarcity. Instead of getting caught up in those, is, okay, instead of thinking with my head, let me feel my thoughts and let me think my emotions. And so switching so that you're actually feeling with your brain and thinking with your heart. And you can do the same thing with your energetic body and your physical body. It's like, okay, I am aware that my body is experiencing pain. However, how do I choose to feel in this moment? Oh, I feel, I choose to feel empowered. I choose to feel like my body is healthy. And what will it take? That's then kicking into the questions. What will it take? So going into COVID, because I had the experience of 2018, the first question I asked myself is, what if this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me? And that is how I went into COVID. And I already had the good fortune of being a part of, Synergy, and having an online business and being able to teach online. So where one of the schools that I was working at completely shut down, I was still teaching, and I was actually teaching their students because they didn't have classes for them to take. However, I was able to, within 2 days, whip up a class and teach. And I call COVID the gift that keeps on giving, because that class that I taught, I just packaged it up, and I have been reselling it over and over and over again, and being sensitive to the economy right now, and that everybody's in kind of different places. I actually sell it via love offering. So people give what they what they see the value is in it for them. And people have paid me $18. People have paid me $200 for the same course. People have given me Cuban cigars and barbecue and, whatever their love offering is. And so looking at things differently is super helpful when we come to adversity. And I haven't been looking at the chats, and hopefully Lacey, you have been, or Pam. Yeah. And so what is the best thing? Yes, definitely asking what is the best thing that could have ever happened. And so that's the way that I went into it. And I noticed, observing, being aware, right, of how other people experienced COVID is literally their perception of it is how they experienced it. And because I do quite a few one-on-one consultations every week with people that are, confidential conversations, coaching conversations, I have asked people to extract the gift. Like, what is the gift? What has then, they're going to go on a rampage and a tantrum about COVID did this, COVID did that, da, 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 and blame, 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 blame. That's taking our power and giving it away. Okay, let's flip the script. What gifts have I received? What are the gifts from COVID? And so people have experienced with me that they've been able to spend more time with their children, that they were out of alignment in the job that they were in. And now they actually get to do something that they totally enjoy doing, that they've thought about relocating, and so there's so many different things and gifts that come from this experience. And so that's the first thing that I would do is if you're still angry about COVID or have any, any negative associations with COVID, is to ask, what are the gifts that I have received? What have the benefits been? And really take the time to do that.
So Tamara, I'm
Yes.
sitting here like a complete student. I forget that I'm actually moderating because I'm so
You're like taking notes. Thank you.
Like I just need notes. I need notes. And I would love to save maybe like 5 minutes on the back end so that people can actually ask you some questions, because I think that you're really, really giving us some incredible insights and some really, really, like you said, we want to deliver tools. We don't want this just to be something fun and to fill 30 minutes of your morning. We want you to walk away with tools that you can actually use in your everyday life that are going to make 2021 better, right?
Absolutely.
It's like drinking off of a fire hose right now, right? So if I could compartmentalize this real quickly.
Absolutely.
We started with the fact that a lot of us operate from what we call programs, right? So you grow up, you have good parents, you have bad parents, whatever, you have parents, you have circumstances in life, you all of a sudden make decisions about yourself, right? You make decisions about yourself, and those are things that you think over and over and over again. They could be true, they could not be true, but then all of a sudden that affects our behavior.
Right.
That's how we react to things, which then affects our outcome, our successes,
Exactly.
our happiness, and all of that. At some point, you've got to discover what that is.
Yes.
You have a discovery about that, and then you make a decision to do something different, right?
Right.
So I was in Clubhouse this morning, right? It's called Breakfast of Champions, and I'm listening to Grant Cardone and all these other guys. He's like, you know what? I had no idea what to do. I just knew that my life sucked. So what I did was every morning I got up and I looked in the mirror and I said, today's your day. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what that looks like, but I just kept telling myself that. And then my behavior started changing, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm hearing that you don't even have to know the how, just make a different choice.
Mm-hmm.
Is what you're trying to say there, right?
Yeah, and that's where the tricks come in of flipping like the emotion, the energy body and the physical body, because literally your physiology has an emotional signature to it, an energetic signature. Like if we put our shoulders back, we open up our chest, we raise our head up and we're kind of looking up to the sky and we're totally open in this space. Like you try to get angry and you cannot get angry. You just can't, because it's a happy physiology. And so that's why moving our body and having really good posture, being present in the moment is so helpful for our energy, because we're empowered in that space. We're like this, and you can literally see the physiology of sadness, and so taking command and control of this body temple that we all have, and getting it working in our favor. The foods we eat, the fluids we drink are 75% of our body's water. 90% of our brain is water. And modern science tells us that like our thoughts, our intelligence is actually in the water in our body. So when we're dehydrated, we can't even think straight. And so it's important to have all four of these aspects of ourselves in alignment and at an optimal space. So I love that, getting fired up in the mirror, and
fake it till you make it if you have to.
Yeah, you practice it until it becomes a habit, because it's a new habit,
And then speaking of habits, we have a question from our fearless leader, Cody Lewis.
Awesome.
He says, I have a question about what Tamara was explaining about how to start the day.
Yeah, so Tamara, my brain can't absorb as quickly as it's being given to us. So can you go back to
Boston speed, yes.
you were saying about some stuff about how you can start your day a certain way. I think that would be a really cool takeaway for this group. Can you give us some detail on like exactly what's our objective in that, and kind of what do we do to accomplish it?
Yeah, absolutely. So your morning routine, every one of us has a morning routine already. Think whatever we do in the morning. So it's your morning routine sets the tone for the rest of your day. So when you are very intentional about your morning routine, you can set yourself up for success for the rest of the day. And yeah, Nathan is mentioning my 21-day program that I did for like becoming invincible in the morning. I did a 7 a.m. Guided meditation for 21 days. And you're welcome to access that. It's on Facebook. It's called Playing for Prosperity. Okay, I'll put a link into this for it. And so when you wake up, first right in your bed, we have this fascia in our body that tightens up through the night. And so that fascia is like, it's a web throughout our entire body, and it affects our everything. Like the aches and pains that you have most likely are from your fascia getting all crinkled up and dehydrated. So before you even get out of bed, is if you've ever watched a baby get out of bed, they like stretch and sometimes they'll tremor, right? Before they get out of bed. And that's like straightening out the fascia, okay? So before you even get out of bed, be aware that, okay, I'm alive. I appreciate my body and life, and stretch and move your body in a natural way, unwinding that fascia. Then when you get out of bed, doing a meditation, moving your body basically into three things. You're going to move your body, you're going to stimulate some positive mindset, and you are going to meditate. Okay, so that's the mind, body, spirit connection. And I like to move my body with some positive positive videos. So I'll put YouTube on, like a Rampage of Appreciation by Abraham. That's a great way to start the day. Lacey's like shaking her head. Yes, Abraham, Rampage of Appreciation, or I like to call it a cascade of appreciation. And so I will put the YouTube video on. I'll say, okay, 15 minutes, I'm going to rebound on my rebounder, jumping on my rebounder and listening to Abraham for 15 minutes. And then I will meditate. And so in the morning, I like to do a silent meditation, which is just me breathing in and out. And in the evening, I like to do a guided meditation. So once you get your morning ritual together, then your evening ritual is super important. And I'll do affirmations in the morning, which is, affirming the positive, whatever it is that you're working on in your life at that moment. And then in the evening, I like to do appreciations. Appreciation, the energy of appreciation vibrates at the same frequency as love, which is creative energy. And the energy you fall asleep to is the energy you're going to wake up with. So with your family, with your partner, with yourself, you can share appreciations for the day. Like I will this evening reflect on this and say, I appreciate being on this call with so many amazing people in the morning, and so I will reflect on my appreciation, so that as I go to sleep, I'm going to sleep in that high vibration of love, and then I'll wake up in that state too. So the morning, to recap, you're going to meditate, you are going to move your body and do something that's positive and inspiring for your mind and for your emotions.
Awesome. And then it's 9:28. We have a couple minutes. I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I think that that's great advice. And I think that we can say that it could look different for other people, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's unique for everyone.
And you're so graceful and you're so beautiful. And I'm kind of like a bull in the china shop. So for me, what that looks like is going to the gym, jumping in a squat rack, and deadlifting 175 pounds.
Yes.
But I accomplished the same thing, right? I mean,
absolutely. We're all unique and different.
You know what I mean? Saying, so it could look different for people.
Absolutely.
However, it's the same premise. So we've got one more question from Lacey. If you could throw that in there.
Yes, I'm so quick. So Tamara, you gave us a couple of good, questions or scripts for 2020, which was, what if this is the best thing that's ever happened to me? And what have been the gifts or the benefits of this? So that's talking about 2020. do you have some positive or some questions or some statements that I could say or anybody could say about 2021? So looking towards the future where it's a question mark, and it could be positive, it could be negative, and kind of framing our minds. And what would you say for 2021?
So going forward for the whole year, I would focus on no more than 3 things that you wish to accomplish for the year. And so, asking yourself, okay, this day, next year, if I'm looking back on the year, what are the 3 things that if I accomplished those 3 things would have been the best year ever? And then that focuses your year in a very intentional way of what are the 3 things that you want to accomplish. And it could be 1 to 3 things. I mean, it doesn't have to, be as many as 3, but no more than 3. Because this will give you an opportunity to really focus on the year and making the most of it. And so when you dig deep into what it is that those 3 things are, 1 to 3 things is, how am I going to feel when they're completed? How is my life going to be different? Who must I become? What do I need to start doing? What do I need to stop doing? So you're going to ask yourself a bunch of questions around those accomplishments moving forward. And how I see things is, okay, I don't see things necessarily year to year, but day to day, moment to moment. And so just because the calendar changed to 2021 doesn't mean that things are all of a sudden, whoa, it's different. It's just another day. It's just another day. And literally going from one moment to the next, it's just another moment. And do like you're a student of Abraham, so you're familiar with what Abraham does as far as segment intending, like going from one segment of your day to the next with setting an intention. So when I do a CE class, I teach the same CE classes over and over again. But right before I start, I'm like, this is going to be the best CE ever, right? What's it going to take for this to be the best CE ever, And so I'm going from one moment to the next, setting the intention of, if I'm driving to an appointment through traffic, that I'm going to get there safely and easily. So I'm like, fast and safe. And I will get there with plenty of time to spare. That's another thing I'll say. I'll get there with plenty of time to spare. So paying attention to the thoughts in your head and then making sure that they're supporting you, and then asking positive, generative questions. Like, what is right about this? What is good about this? What are the gifts in this? You could literally use that same exercise we use for 2024 from one moment to the next.
Tamara, you are such an inspiration. I mean, honestly,
A
friend of mine has a saying, and he always says, the longest journey in your life that you will ever encounter is the 18 inches from your head to your heart, right?
Yes.
And I just feel that when I'm talking to you, that's where you're at, like you've mastered this. And I think that we all feel better being in your presence. And I think that we all feel better for
and it's
your wisdom. And thank you so much for sharing this with us. And I know, we should literally set aside like the 5 hours one day.
Yes, and do a workshop. I love it. That will be wonderful.
I think we need to do this.
Yes, wonderful. And I do see all the positive things. Thank you so much that you all are sharing in the comments. Love you. Love you all.
You're amazing. And thank you for getting with us. And everybody should have your contact information. So I think that Tamara is so graceful and so giving. If you do have any questions that we weren't able to answer on this Power 30, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Tamara would probably love to hear from you anyway.
Absolutely. Please reach out to me.
Wow. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Love you, Cindy.
Thank you, Tamara. Love you.
Thank you, Tamara.
Take care.
Thanks, Tamara.
Tamara, we love you.
Love you too.